when you're in an inbox, even if it's not opened, people saw your name or your business name and the topic. They may not open it. Totally fine. People get really worked up about that. I personally think awareness is really important, and you get awareness even if they didn't open it.
Right. It's that reminder that you exist that's popping up.
Exactly.
Hey there. A quick interruption to give you some context. You're watching Beyond the Peak Pod, a show for marketers, founders, and nonprofit leaders who want real strategies, not hyped trends, to stay focused and effective in a constantly changing landscape. We talk with experts about how they stay sharp, accountable, and grounded in what actually works. This show is produced by Peakbound Studio, a Bay Area video team trusted by nonprofits and growing businesses to tell real stories that help move people to action. Now, without further ado, I hope you enjoy this conversation. Lisa, I've known you for a little bit, but for those who aren't familiar, who are you and what do you do?
I am a marketing consultant mostly for small local service businesses. And I have an academic background as well as having now well over 20 years of experience of working with small business owners. My company is Marketing You, and my tagline is learn it, do it, profit. I think I blend that sort of academic background with the practical and the accountability. The tagline sort of captures it all for me and my clients.
As a PhD, you're more versed in this than most people. In its essence, what is marketing to you?
Yeah. So in its essence, marketing to me is finding that great overlap between what your target audience wants and what you, and again, I'm going to probably mostly talk about small business solopreneur types because some of these things may not exactly apply in bigger contexts. But so what that target audience really wants and what you really want to offer and that you are uniquely qualified to give to them, and that overlap, that match is where all the marketing efforts need to go so that the target audience knows that you have exactly what they want and it's in a way that they can make that purchase and you can do what you want to do and they get what they need and everyone is happy.
Why is that important that there's that overlap between the people you serve and what you're actually interested in?
Mm-hmm. With small business owners and solopreneurs, you're going to bring your best self when you love what you're doing. And so not to say that there's not crappy parts of your work that you're going to have to deal with. You will have to deal with some stuff that you don't love all the time, right? That's, whether it's accounting or whatever it is. But when you're in your flow with what you're really good at, and that's a really good match with what your target audience needs, it seems like you get more out of it overall. They're more satisfied, you're more satisfied, and it's a win-win for all the parties.
So why specifically small businesses? Why are they the audience that you've chosen to help?
So I have a PhD, which most people with PhD in marketing do not go and help people who are in very small businesses. They're more likely to do corporate consulting or work for a bigger corporation. I think that part of my love for the small business can be, linked back to my being an Army brat. Mm-hmm. And we moved around a lot. And so we were never anywhere for more than 2 years when I was growing up, and sometimes for significantly less than 2 years. So I think I didn't ever have that sense of place as a kid. And now as an adult, I really love that sense of place. We live in Berkeley. We can walk to a lot of places. There's a feeling of community that you get when there's a lot of thriving small local businesses. And I think that's partly why I'm so attracted to that.
I moved a lot when I was a kid too.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I've gained from that is I'm not afraid of change. Yeah. So I know that if something has to change, I'm much more willing than I've seen some of my peers be to that. Yeah. Do you see any parallels between having to be comfortable with change and to pivot with the marketing career that you've entered?
Yes. And sometimes it's a pain in the neck. But in general, I love change. As you know, I think I like the adaptability. I like learning new things. And so that's always kind of fun. I would say while the tactics change, the underlying strategies don't necessarily change. So again, I'm going to probably talk about target audience a lot, but identifying that target audience, identifying what's important to them, identifying where they're showing up, and that part might change, right? Maybe they're showing up on Facebook 10 years ago, but they're not on Facebook anymore. Now they're on Instagram or TikTok. So you need to know where they're showing up. And once you figure that out, then you can decide what are the tactics you need to employ to be the match.
I hear this comment a lot. Like, you need to know your target audience as much as you can and know where they are. How do you find them?
So, for example, I have a client, very unsexy business, structural foundation repair. He does concrete work and foundations and drainage type things. And that's the kind of thing where if you notice that your house is not level or you get water in your basement or whatever, you go in search of finding a solution, right? So it's very search driven.
Yes.
But there's also a lot of marketing research, academic type stuff that says the more you're exposed to something, the more familiar you are with it, the more you like it, even though you might not know much about it. So for him, we actually run both, like a low-level Facebook awareness campaign and Google AdWords only on Search Network, which is something we recently have just only done search, not search partners, not on any of the extra stuff that they have.
Okay.
So, his clientele, homeowners, you can add that in a demographic on paid search on Facebook and other on the Meta platforms. And so you can really hone in. Well, they have to own their home. It's probably in, we know geographically where they're going to be. They probably have the resources to invest because what he does is not cheap. It's like $25K and up.
Yeah. Big jobs.
So big jobs. So you can hone in on the people who might be likely with that. So that's one example. A lot of the times my clients do have a sense of who their target audience is, right? They know there's an economic situation, there's the decision maker, there's, geographically where they're located. So they tend to know that kind of stuff. And then we can extrapolate from there. Well, are they of the age they're going to still be on Facebook or not, right? Like for the structural repair guy, yeah, some of his folks are still on Facebook. But other clients might be younger and they're not going to be on Facebook anymore. They're going to be on Instagram or somewhere else.
How do you communicate to your clients when they think that social media marketing is the solution, but it's not necessarily where their clients are?
Yeah. So we have that conversation. So where do you think your clients are showing up? Online, offline? Sometimes offline makes more sense. Can we do some investigation to find out if they're really there? Some of the tools in the Meta ads platform let you get a little more detail about how many people there might be in various specific groupings. So that can help you. But the client typically has an idea of where their people are. I do think there is this feeling like, oh, I have to be doing social media.
Right.
Period. Because that's what I have to do. That's what small business owners are doing all the time. It's worth it to roll back a little bit and say, okay, well, do you really have to? And if you do really have to, let's pick one platform where people are going to be showing up. And not try to push content to everything because there are different, the most simple, there's different sizing for different platforms of how the content needs to be presented. And the personalities are different and what works on one isn't the same as what works on another necessarily. Even though it seems easy, let me just click all the places, push it all out. It's not always worth it.
We've kind of come across that too in trying to explain to some of our clients that think that all they need to do is like create one social media video or like a couple social media videos without realizing that the strategy for social media is a long-term process. And also just think about how long it's going to take to create that content and the budget involved in that. I don't think people necessarily realize how consistency is really important. What do you say to clients?
One of the things I say to them is, well, let's see what you already have in place and how can we optimize what you have? Because before you add another thing to your to-do list, especially if your goal is going to be to drive people to your website or drive people to make the phone call or drive people to go to your location, let's get all of that really dialed in. Let's make sure that your website can convert people that show up. That's often a question mark. So let's look at that. The other thing almost all the time is that email marketing is probably a better use of effort than social media for people who have a client base
To start with.
with.
Rather than trying to go and like build another
Right. Rather
audience
than
on a
build
platform.
another audience on a platform, let's work with the audience you have, try to get more referrals from them. Is there some kind of offer you can give to those prior or current clients to come back more often or to refer you? What can we do on that end first? And then once you've got that sort of core set of things done, now we can learn from each of those things as to what might be better on social media. So if you had more people click through on a particular email, what was in that email that made it more clickable? Is there something we can learn from that we can apply to social media? Where can we pick up information along the way so that we can optimize what we end up doing on social media? And it absolutely is a commitment. It's not let me make one post and hope it goes viral.
Yeah.
It's not how it works.
Let's talk a little bit about Marketing You. So what changes have you seen over the years through your company?
Yeah. I did the academic thing. I taught at Berkeley and Mills as as a visiting kind of professor for many years. And then my husband and I started a web development company in 2001. And we got small business clients. We actually had some academic clients who were running experiments, but they wanted like a website so that people could make a buying decision and see how the different attributes mattered when they were making that choice. And he had a really great skill set for that, and I had the connections in the academic world at UC Berkeley. So we had a variety of types of clients. We grew. We were in our garage for a bit. We grew out of our garage, grew to like 10, 11 employees. And then 2010, 2011, sort of, the crash was 08, 09.
Yes.
We were still doing okay, but we were also, I was like, I'm not having fun anymore.
I'm getting so burnt out.
I'm getting burnt out. I like doing marketing consulting. I'm tired of project management. And so we just decided to downsize it and go back to working from home. I started doing that, and my marketing you with a U as opposed to YOU. The U part was important to me, especially at the very beginning. And because I had a teaching background, so I did a lot of workshops, a lot of classes, and helping people understand. And the learn it, do it, profit part. The learn it was really relevant, I think, particularly in the beginning, where I really loved teaching, and that was a big piece of what marketing you was. As time has gone on, it's shifted because the other reality is, while small business owners want to do a lot of the things on their own, they don't always have time. And so a lot of them want someone to take it on.
Right.
And so over time, I still offer what I call a solopreneur sounding board package, which is great when the client wants to do some of the work, but they mostly need to like talk it through and prioritize and have accountability. But for a lot of my other clients, it's like, can you do this for me? Can you do my email marketing? Can you do my AdWords campaign? Can you do this whatever thing? So it became a little bit less about teaching them and more about me being the do-it person.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know sometimes there's a lot of like stigma or shame around company size and not being big.
Yeah.
Is there an advantage to a certain size?
Yeah. I think that there are certain sizes that are terrible.
Tell me about that. Tell me more.
So I think when we had like 10 or 11 employees, that was not a good size for that type business. I think you need to be bigger or you need to be smaller, but having that number is a little harder to navigate because you either need some really big clients, and those come with bigger stresses, longer cycles for them to pay your bill, which is a pain in the neck when you have payroll for 10 or 11 people.
Right. Yeah.
So there's just a lot of challenges at that size. I think as you scale up beyond that, you resolve some of those issues. When you're smaller, you resolve some of those issues. So I do think depending on the industry, there's probably sweet spots and spots that are really not great.
So you would say for marketing, 10, 11 employees probably isn't
It wasn't ideal. And which I think what you see is you see these agencies that are bigger or that are affiliates, right? They're not like employees. They're like, oh, I have a team of people I can reach out to help deliver this thing.
Yeah.
but everyone's an independent contractor. They have their own set of clients. You're not making payroll. It's a loose affiliation that lets you make that happen. When everyone's an employee, it's a very different level of commitment that you've given as the employer to those folks and that they expect from you, that because they're giving you a commitment too. And so it changes that the way that you need to bring in new clients obviously has to ramp up quite a bit. And you may not be as picky at certain times because of that. So
So I want to talk a little bit more about the idea that marketing is like this huge behemoth. There's a lot of moving parts, things like we've talked about. There has to be a lot of adaptability.
yeah.
How do you keep things simple for your clients? Is there a step one when you first approach a client
Yeah.
to kind of educate them on what is the most important thing to focus on?
Yeah. Usually there's, we have a conversation. What's going on in your business? What's working now? What's the gap? How can we get from here to there, wherever there is that they want to go? Because different clients have different places that they want to go to. Sometimes it's they want to make more money with less time. Sometimes they want to maximize growth. It just depends on what they're looking for. But first, let's get a lay of the land and let's see where you're constrained and what the issues might be. Then I think it's some of the things I said before. If we think the website's important to your business, let's make sure it's functional in terms of converting people. And I almost always talk about email marketing as step one or step 1.5, because it is low-hanging fruit almost all the time. So that's an important piece to get going. Then after that, where are the people showing up? Do you need to do things in person? How do you connect with your potential clients? What makes sense? Maybe there's a pricing decision that needs to be happening. Maybe there's a, more traditional advertising or promotion type thing. I mean, one of the things that's kind of interesting is that when I came through the marketing education that I got, we've talked a lot about the 4 Ps. It's not just the promotion. It's also price. It's also distribution, P for place, aka distribution. So all of those things are important for folks to be effective in their marketing.
You work a lot with service-based businesses. Yeah. Would you say for your service-based business clients, email marketing is one of the smartest places to start, or in general, would you say that's
I think in general, I mean, my inbox is filled all the time with people selling things, not just services. I think it's great for everybody. I think people get really worked up about things like open rates or unsubscribes or whatever. Most of the time, people are not going to unsubscribe, especially if you're consistent with email marketing. There's a lot of research that shows when you're consistent, no matter what the frequency is, but if you're consistent with that frequency, people generally don't unsubscribe. Just they don't get pissed off at you and unsubscribe. They may unsubscribe for whatever reason, but that's not typical. When you're in an inbox, even if it's not opened, people saw your name or your business name and the topic. They may not open it. Totally fine. People get really worked up about that. I personally think awareness is really important, and you get awareness even if they didn't open it. So,
right. It's that reminder that you exist that's popping up. Can you give me like a quick strategy of what you say, of what you would tell your clients, of the types of things that they should be putting in their emails?
It does depend on the client. I know I said it does depend a lot.
Well, it does. That's like marketing isn't a one size fits all. Right. It's a very specific approach for each client.
So, for example, I have clients who are chiropractors and other wellness professionals. And so there's a seasonality to that, right? There's oh gosh, people are doing summer sports, weekend warrior things that they weren't doing 6 months ago. And now they've got more aches and pains. So maybe we mention that injury. Did you do this thing? Did you do that thing? Or you went on vacation and you feel cranky because your body was in an airplane for however many hours, and so let's come on back in and get some work done. Or at the holiday time, let's de-stress with this. So there are these calendar seasonal things in many industries that you can leverage to talk about, because it's all like trying to figure out what's my content strategy going to be,
right? And
whether it's delivered via email, whether it's delivered on social media, it's still kind of looking for what are the hooks that make sense. And so it can be seasonal. It can be just general advice. here's a tip for your neck, here's a tip for your shoulder, here's a tip for whatever. I've noticed when it feels more personal, I get more feedback. And so I think that is one of the things that's important to think about as a solo or small service provider. People are coming to you for you. They want the individual. They want that sort of feeling of connection. And I think that's an important aspect as well, to not lose that. So even when I'm the one writing it for them, I do try to have some of their personality, right? Some people are more formal, so it'll be a little more formal. Some people are more casual, so it'll be more casual.
Yes.
I'm just thinking about one email that I sent out to my list a couple years back where I talk about the small moments, right? Like that those are really important, and we get caught up in the big.
Yeah.
And it really resonated with people to be like, oh yeah, it's okay to be small. It's okay to savor a small thing and not feel like it has to be this huge production.
Yeah, and that's kind of like where you get lost in it, is if you're looking at this huge thing and not breaking it down into little pieces.
Yeah.
But one thing you said about making it personal, that is something that we talk a lot about with our clients in our work, because we also work with service-based businesses.
Yeah.
And people ultimately want to work with people, not some nameless brand, especially in the services industry. Like, oftentimes some services can be very personal.
Yeah.
And so understanding the person you're talking to, like, we talk a lot about that in making sure that when you're showing up, especially in video content, that you need to be yourself. Like, that's the most important thing, because this is the indication of what people can expect when they actually interact with you.
Right.
But I feel like a lot of times businesses are more focused on their competition rather than themselves, and like making sure that they show up as the unique thing that doesn't exist anywhere else.
Right.
So I know you have a little bit of a controversial view on competition, specifically for small businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think small businesses should not pay that much attention to their competition. I think, as we've been talking about how it's personal, right? It's someone's coming to you for a wellness service or marketing help or whatever, and you need to click with them. And what's going to make you click with them isn't going to be the same thing that makes somebody else click with them.
Yeah.
And so if they've clicked with you, then they might not click with them anyway. So why spend the energy on that when you could be working on being the best version of yourself for your clients and finding those points of connection? Yeah, obviously, if you're a big company, you may need to pay attention to your competition. But when you're small, I think you don't need a ton of clients to be successful. You need the right clients. And the more that you put yourself and your authentic self into it, the more you're going to find the right matches out there.
That reminds me of a webinar I gave on video for social media. One of the questions that we get a lot is like, how frequently should you post? And there's so many different views on like what that number is. I've heard as high as like 3 posts a day.
Yeah.
That's really overwhelming. So when I was trying to put it into context of like what's important, especially when you're first getting started posting content, isn't the frequency, it's the quality of the thing that you're actually putting out there. Because if you're compromising quality for consistency, then it doesn't really matter how often you post, because it's not going to resonate with people. It's not going to be memorable. And it's also not going to reflect you, because it turns into a chore. When I'm talking quality, I'm not necessarily meaning like you have to have all of the bells and whistles of a really good mic and a really good camera. Quality to me is like the quality of the content.
Okay. Yeah.
And so make sure that what you're creating, people actually care about, and it actually like resonates with them. I think that's more important to focus on than like how you look in a particular frame, because consumers on social media are much more forgiving of video quality, which I've found. But the content itself, like that's what you have to get right.
One of the things that I try to encourage people to do is reframe things as a pilot or a test or a experiment.
Yes.
And so when you reframe it that way, you take off a lot of the pressure. So I'm going to pilot doing TikToks, or I'm going to pilot doing this other thing, or I'm going to experiment with it for a while. Because I also think that people get caught up in how good it has to be at the beginning.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just the 10,000 hours. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but the book about 10,000 hours
to become an expert in
the expert.
a certain thing. Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just doing the thing enough times that you're not freaked out about doing the thing. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's the highest quality at the very get-go, but it's the practice that you're getting. I think that's another thing to think about a lot of these things in terms of a practice and the process and not the product all the time.
Right.
It's like, let me get used to doing this process. And as I do the process, I will get much better at it. So I think that can be helpful for people to reframe a little bit. Like, we're going to experiment with this. We're going to try this. It's not the end. It's not the last time we'll do it. It's the first time we'll do it. And it's the first 10 times we'll do it. And then after that, we'll be better.
Yeah, I think that definitely takes the pressure off of folks, because the hardest thing is putting themselves out there, especially with video content. So to treat this as this is just a test of you figuring things out, I definitely agree with that as well. So I think also happening on social media is this trend of not just creators, but maybe companies saying you have to do it this way. And that's very much a trend in marketing as well. While we have our own ideas of what works and what's worked for us in our companies, that isn't necessarily the case for every client. Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
There are a lot of folks out there, I think in particular coaches, who have gotten to where they are by doing it a particular way, and they bring in new clients to their own business by saying, oh, I did this, this, and this, and now I'm a 7-figure business or a whatever, right?
Everything under the sun.
Yeah. If you do it my way, you'll get that same results. And then the person says, oh, yeah, that sounds amazing. Let me pay my $5,000 or whatever, $10,000, whatever the package is.
To take this
course. To take the course or do the program or whatever. And sometimes there's some great information in those. Also, sometimes there's not that great information. Then the client in that situation is like, wait, I didn't get the results that you got. And the coach is like, well, you didn't do it the right way. Well, okay, that sucks.
Right.
But that's not necessarily what happened, right? It's that what worked for that person isn't going to work for this person, because maybe their audience is different, or maybe they're different and the way that they're going to connect with that audience is going to be different. So I think just figuring out what the kernels are of each individual business person, each of my clients, where is it working in your business? Where isn't it working in your particular business? What matters to you? What matters to your clients? I think it does need to be dialed in like that. And then absolutely, do I always recommend email marketing? 99.9% of the time, I do, because I believe it. And I believe in it, and I've seen it work time and time again. But the specifics of how to do that, I think, are going to vary by client.
How do you market your business?
So that's changed over the years too. So as I mentioned, I started out doing a lot of workshops and marketing those through various online and offline, including dropping off business cards at businesses or putting up a flyer about a workshop somewhere. So a variety of different things. And one of the things that helped me a lot was actually networking. Business Networking International was really helpful for my business at various points. I've been in and out. I'm out right now, but I've been a member at various points. Their networking groups was small local businesses, which is my ideal client.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for me, it was a particularly good match. Through that, through email marketing, through the base of clients that we had as with the web development work, some of those became my clients. A few different ways along the way. And networking now, right? Through the Berkeley Chamber, through the Women's Entrepreneurs at Berkeley. There's a few different groups that I'm in. that offer me access to potential clients.
Would you say that your strategy is like more off internet rather than on, or would you say it's pretty even?
Yeah, I think it's probably more off than on given my audience. I have a website, people go to it. I don't do Google AdWords for my own business. I don't do social media right now for my own business. I have done various things in the past. So it is mostly offline and not online. I do some video stuff, like this is great. I've done a few other things along the way, but mostly around teaching, right? Like, here's how you do this thing. Here's how you do that thing. I think the teaching piece has been a big part of how I've gotten clients over the years through partnering with organizations that offer workshops or classes to their audiences and then also directly.
It seems that there's this trend to use educational content as a pillar of a marketing strategy. What advantages have you seen providing that through the years? Like, have you seen a trend of people being more interested in that type of marketing?
Yeah. I think it actually, for me, was more helpful in the beginning, right? Because I think nowadays the core marketing education that any person walking down the street has is relatively high compared to what it was 25 years ago. It's become mainstream because everybody recognizes that they can market something themselves. They could be an influencer. I mean, there's all this language and opportunity for marketing yourself that has upped everybody's understanding of what marketing is over the years. I used to talk about positioning, thinking about that target audience. What's the messaging? How are you positioned for what they want? And that 15 years ago was sometimes eye-opening to people. And today it's a lot less likely to be eye-opening to people.
There's a lot more exposure that people have to marketing just on a day-to-day. Are there any things that you find you still have to educate clients on?
Yeah, so I think what's happened is this switch from the core strategic topics to the tactical topics, which are changing all the time. Like back to what we talked about at the very beginning, the technology is always changing and the tools to make content are generally getting easier. I mean, I've been using Canva, for example, for a long time. I'm grandfathered in at their old rate,
Okay.
I'm like,
you're an early adopter.
I was an early adopter of Canva, a very early adopter, and I love it. And partly why I love it is it's made a minimally viable graphic option accessible to someone like me, right? It's not the same quality as hiring a professional graphic designer.
Right.
They're going to probably do it better. But for a lot of what I need, it's a great match. There's a lot of tools out there that make a lot of things a lot more accessible to folks these days than they were, but people need to learn how to use them. And I used to offer Canva classes. Here's how you go into Canva. Here's how you find things. Here's how you edit them. Here's how you do this or that. MailChimp classes, WordPress classes. I used to do a whole range of technology-focused kind of classes.
Wow. So beyond educating your clients, I know that you also help clients make sure that they're accountable to their marketing strategy. You have a small but mighty community. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So about 2 years ago, I realized that a lot of folks wanted a feeling of community and connection and to talk to other small business owners about what was going on in their business or just wanting feedback and accountability. So I started this community on the Mighty Community platform, and I call it Small But Mighty because, of course, my clients are small typically. I have 2 open calls Tuesday and Fridays at 9 a.m. for 30 minutes. People can call in. We're on Zoom and just chat about what's going on, what they want to get done in the next week, what they've gotten done in the past week. And then some occasional questions about what are you on track for? What's up next? Do you have any general questions? And it's a nice format. It's a pretty inexpensive price point for folks. It's under, $75 under that. So yeah, it's a nice way for people to feel connected and get answers to their questions when they have them.
What do you think is the biggest takeaway for clients that are a part of this community?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is the accountability, knowing you're going to have to say to people, yeah, I said I was going to do this and I didn't, or I did, right?
Right. having to admit to someone
Yes,
that you didn't do the thing you said you were going
Exactly.
to. Yeah, that's definitely, that keeps us accountable.
Yeah.
So I know that you also have a podcast. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, my podcast is unrelated to marketing. I do it with my husband. We call it A Couple Thinks. You can find it at couplethinks.com, and it's politically adjacent conversations to help keep people, us and others, sane in this crazy moment in American history. So we came upon the idea. We went on this big road trip last fall, right before the election. We helped canvass in Arizona, and then we kept going because we had a family wedding in Vegas. Down one of our long drives, we were like, how about we do a podcast? And so it started there.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it since mid-January, and it has helped us keep sane. And we've gotten really good feedback from some of our listeners. So, yeah, you can find us on Substack or on Apple or Spotify.
I want to leave with a question about what you've learned through your career. So what is the hardest lesson that you've learned?
You know, we talked about when we decided to downsize our business, and I think that was rough, right? We gave up our office space, we gave up employees, we went from feeling like we were a company to back to being, we don't think of ourselves as freelancers, but in a sense, that's what we are. Not that we frame it that way.
Yeah.
So that was, there's a lot of status with having a bigger organization than having a smaller organization. So that felt very challenging in the moment. I think we came out the other side much better and we're much happier. So I don't have regrets. But as we were going through it, like trying to get out of a lease and telling employees we were cutting them all out, those were some tough moments along the way.
From that, what advice would you give to a fellow marketer?
So thinking about what are the right sizes for you and your company, whether that's you or whether that's more than you. I think that's something that's important, and it might change over time, right? We didn't get to 11 fast. That took a little time. And what you think is really great in one point of your life may be different than what you think is good in another point of your life. But I think being open to being both big and small is one of the things I would say. I know that sounds very counter to American culture where we're all pushed to be big.
We're all about growth, yes.
Yes. I do like life in the small moments. So,
have you seen your profitability change at all from that shift?
Yeah. Our profitability absolutely has improved over without having all those fixed costs that we were having to bear, rent and employees, etc. Also, the way that we've priced ourselves in the market has shifted over time so that there's more margin on the revenue side too, not just on cutting costs. So it's kind of the combination has led to higher profits over time.
That's great. I think that's the best the best piece of information that you need to like encourage people to be open to whatever size your company ends up being.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for being on the show. This was wonderful, and I couldn't thank you enough.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really great. I appreciate it.